This show contains spoilers and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Movies with Ron, movies with Ron.
Hell yeah, motherfucker!
Movies with Ron!
Hey, can we talk about this movie? It's called Logan Lucky.
Nope.
Heard of it?
Yes.
The new Steven Soderbergh movie. That's good news. He's good sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? I like the ocean movies.
Oh, yeah, man.
This one's a new heist one called Logan Lucky. Two brothers. Channing Tatum and the little Vader guy from A Hope Begins.
Adam Driver.
They're going to do a heist, but they need Daniel Craig. Cast Daniel Craig in this movie. He's not his usual self, and I don't know what to think about it.
I think it's great.
Can we play the voice?
How many yards away is the ball?
20 yards. I don't know, maybe 30.
Is it 20 or is it 30? We are dealing with science here.
I don't know, man.
Nah, man. Sounds good.
Sounds like he's not James Bond anymore, and
He doesn't want to be James Bond anymore.
I want to be offended as an American in the South.
Oh, go ahead.
Is he gay?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Sounds like he's being a cartoon. But I trust Steven Soderbergh. So yeah, it seems pretty good. Welcome to episode 52 of Movies with Ron, the podcast where my older brother surprises me with a movie he saw because I don't go see him anymore, and he explains the whole thing to me from beginning to end. Keep listening and you'll end up liking his versions better. It's okay if you've seen the movie. It's okay if you haven't seen it. The experience is unique, so let's get it on. I'm Chris, your MC for the time being. Here with us, our sound guy Rick.
What's going on, everybody?
And don't forget, folks,
He's the ball cracker, death on foot. You know him, you love him. He's Ron.
Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, what's up, man?
So last week we did The Pirates.
Yeah. Doesn't seem to be doing so well.
Not in America. The whole world loves it, though.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
That's how they survive. So, you know Barbossa, Jeffrey Rush, he's got his little monkey. Yeah. At the end of the film, Karina is like, it's Barbossa.
Mm-hmm.
You know? At the end of the new Pirates, Karina is Barbossa and Henry is her monkey. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
She like slaps him.
I know.
The fuck's up with that?
Just asserting dominance.
Yeah. He's her monkey.
Yeah.
Don't forget you're my monkey.
Yeah.
Now that's funny.
All right. This Universal Monsters thing?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the lineup of all the movies.
Dude, me too. Okay, It's called The Dark Universe.
Right.
You got The Mummy, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Okay. You see Russell Crowe in those previews?
Yeah.
He's Dr. Jekyll.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
He ties it all together.
Johnny Depp is the Invisible Man?
I was wondering who he's playing because I saw him in a photo for the Dark Universe, but I was like, what the fuck? Who's he going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be invisible.
Okay.
Javier Bardem as Frankenstein's monster?
Despite the fact that in the lineup there is no Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
Only Bride of Frankenstein.
Maybe they share the movie, I'm thinking.
Good.
But they haven't cast her yet. But she's the other one.
Javier is awesome in everything he does, man.
Those are the Monster Avengers.
Yep.
Who do you think they're going to fight? Probably Dracula.
Yeah.
I heard Dracula Untold.
Was supposed to be the beginning of the Dark Universe.
Yeah, but it's not anymore.
Yeah, because it choked. But that actor is like, shit, man.
All right, Rick, casting Dracula. Let's do it.
Well, I think Bruce Willis would be perfect.
give him hair, and I agree.
Yeah.
I don't want no bald Dracula. Do vampires' hair grow?
I don't know, man.
I think he like shaved his head and he was like, fuck. All right. Little tidbit for you. There's a movie called The African Queen. Famous old movie.
Oh, yeah.
Filmed in Africa. What happened was the whole crew got sick from the water there.
Uh-huh.
They had to like delay filming. Meanwhile, Humphrey Bogart is like, why is everyone getting sick?
Yeah.
He's looking around and he's like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah.
He's having a good time going out because, according to everybody else, he had a strict diet of whiskey.
Yeah.
And he never drank water.
Nice.
He never drank anything else.
Nice.
Oh, my God.
I'm having a good time here. He had like a glass in his hand. At a moment's notice. Everyone's like, he has a problem. And then they went to the back to throw up. Glub. Okay, Rick.
Yeah.
Ron does not like the movie In the Army Now.
What?
I know.
I liked it back in the day.
As did
Dumb now.
I love it.
I don't know. I haven't seen it lately. Maybe I won't like it now. But I did like it back then.
It has like a sane Andy Dick.
Yeah.
Pauly Shore had to like do some kind of physical transformation in that movie. He like got buff.
Like Skinny Buff?
Let's not forget David Alan Greer.
He's the highlight of the movie.
Dude, totally. What
There's a
happened?
scorpion on my back.
What happened to David Alan Greer, man? He had Jumanji,
Yep.
pure talent.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, we need to like put him in a movie or something. And I don't even think he like raised to that level of like having his own movies. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he just hosts comedy stand-up shows now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's probably like a businessman somewhere. But we should have him on the show.
Hell yeah.
Just make him say, "This is scorpion on my back."
There's a scorpion on my back.
He's totally freaking out because there's a scorpion on his back
Yeah.
in the Army Now.
That's a scorpion on my back.
And then Pauly Shore like calms him down.
Yeah. Then David Alan Greer turns around. There's a real scorpion on his back.
Oh,
he
yeah.
like swats it away and starts stomping on it.
Yeah.
Pauly Shore, he's jumping up and down. David Alan Greer turns around to look at him.
It's like, what the hell are you doing?
He's like, "Why are you always playing?"
Yeah. Can we get some sleep, please?
I had a problem with that because I was like, if someone's going to like talk me down out of a unstable mental state, I'm not going to turn around and be like, "What's your problem?" You know?
Yeah.
All right. I haven't recommended a movie in like a couple months.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Cemetery Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's Rupert Everett.
Yeah, man.
Rupert Everett himself alone battling zombies.
Yeah.
He runs a cemetery. He's in love. There's a whole undead thing with the woman he's in love with.
Yeah.
Bunch of plot there. He's in Italy, and it's based on this like Italian comic book.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. When you look at the images in the comic, it seems like the artist was thinking of Rupert Everett while he was animating the comic. It's like they found an actor that is perfect. He
Yeah.
like looks just like him. I've always loved him. He does good in this. It's a kind of a horror thing.
Yeah.
Totally not your typical zombie movie.
Oh, yeah, man. It's like a zombie love story.
Yeah. Cemetery Man. Check it out. All right. Wonder Woman. Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah, man. This was good.
Yeah. I like Gal Gadot, and I love the Star Trek guy.
I'm pretty sure it's Gal Gadot.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Sorry, Gal. Anybody else good in this?
Yeah, man. Had Danny Houston in it.
Oh, wow.
He is the head vampire from 30 Days of Night.
Yeah.
He's a face.
From number 23, Fingerling.
Yeah. And it had David Thewlis in it.
Who's
You
that?
don't know that name.
No.
You know him as Fatsy Watsy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
From Dragonheart.
Dragonheart. The rest of the world knows him as Dr. Lupin from Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But he'll always be Fatsy Watsy to me. Oh, shit. Spud from Trainspotting.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that shit?
What happened to Trainspotting 2?
Came out,
Just came and went?
came and went.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. For the first time ever, it's Wonder Woman on Movies with Ron.
It's showtime. Get the people out! Come on! Get the people out!
All right, so I had to see this movie in 3D, which was, again, useless. Couple of bullets flying here and there, but that's it.
Oh, yeah.
The theater was also completely jam-packed. And I ended up having to sit way, way up in the back, all the way to the left, next to somebody's kids, whose parents were not even sitting with them.
Oh,
They were like sitting in another row.
shit.
Yeah. And they have a young son who is not the movie theater going type. He just wanted to run up and down. Every time the sound came on, he would like cover his ears and then clap them really loud.
What?
Yeah, he was just like, I don't want to fucking
Hurting
be here.
himself?
Yeah, sort of. And he's screaming out that he wants a hot dog. And I'm like looking at his big sister, like, get him a hot dog. He disappeared. He came back with a hot dog. And I was like, damn, dude, this kid is going to ruin this. Never heard another peep out of him. That's all he needed. Hot dog.
Yeah. Now I want a hot dog.
So we're off somewhere in the modern day, and we have Gal Gadot narrating. And she's like, I used to want to save the world because it is so beautiful and blah, blah, blah. But the closer you get to it, the more darkness you see simmering. And right about here, some dude stood up. Decided to come over to the side of the theater and like stand there and like just watch the movie from there. There's like a handrail. He's like right in front of me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean he's like a level down.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just like, man, it's okay. He's trying to figure something out. And I give him a second, and he just like fucking keeps standing there, like folds his arms, like I'm gonna watch it from here. It's fine. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? He's like holding in a shit or something.
Or he hates the seats?
There is no way he could hate these seats. These are those nice recliners, man.
Okay.
So I give him a good strong. And he turns around, and I just kind of gently put my hands in the air, like, what are you doing, man? And then he just goes and sits back down.
Oh, wow.
Like, what the fuck?
Discipline with Ron. Make that fucker sit down.
Jesus Christ, what a mess.
So Gal, whose name is Diana in this movie, she gets a photo in the mail. She opens it up, and it is a picture of her in her Wonder Woman getup with Captain Kirk and all their other buddies during World War I.
Okay.
And there's a note from Bruce Wayne. It's like, hey, I found this. Thought you might want it. Blah, blah. So then her eyes start tearing up, and then we get a flashback to Thor Island. Her home island where all of the Amazons live.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because she's an Amazon. Did you know that?
Okay. Are there any men?
No men
Ah.
whatsoever.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. All right, so we got this little girl, little Diana, running around all of these badass warrior bitches. And she's watching them like train and stuff like that, and they're like riding on horses, leaning all the way down, doing all this weird circus shit. It's fucking amazing. And they are just complete badass. They are the Spartans. All right?
Cool.
So she's watching all these ladies train, and there's like big tough one tougher than the rest. And that is her aunt. And her aunt's name is Antiope.
Okay.
She is played by Kevin Spacey's wife in House of Cards.
Ah.
So, I don't like her. And her mom's name is Hippolyta. You get that? Hippolyta is the queen of the Amazons. So Antiope is like, oh, Diana, come here, come on. Come get some of this shit. She's like a little girl. And her mom steps in. She's like, nope, no training for Diana. No fucking way, man. She's like, why? She needs to be able to defend herself. She's important. And the queen's like, no, man, she's a child. Let her be a child. It's fine. No training for her whatsoever. Antiope's like, bitch. So then we cut to bedtime. And the queen's tucking Diana in. And she tells her the story of Whore Island.
Okay.
And I think it's called Themyscira or something. All right, so Zeus created mankind. And his son, Ares, the god of war, then corrupted mankind. And then they all just wanted to fight and be assholes to each other. Like they are. Mm. So then the gods made the Amazons so that they could, show love and inspire mankind.
Uh-huh.
Turn them back to, peaceful ways. And he put them all on Whore Island. And then they all got enslaved somehow. So Zeus had to come and fight Ares to help him out. And that's when Ares killed all the other gods except for Zeus. And Ares ended up leaving, but Zeus left the Amazons a weapon that they could defeat him with if he ever came back, a god killer. And Whore Island is also a way to hide the Amazons from the outside world, because it's invisible to all of us.
Okay.
Unless we go through the magic barrier that's around it. So the little girl is like, oh, wow, can I see the god killer? I want to see it. She takes her and shows it to her, and it's just a sword. She's like, yeah, the gods gave us a bunch of cool stuff. This is where we keep it, in this big tower. And it's just a sword in the middle of the room. And she's like, wow, can I use this? And like, no, you're a kid, and you don't know how to do anything. So, but don't worry, you're safe here. Nothing's ever going to happen to you. We got the most badass captain of the guard, your aunt. So you're fine. Don't worry about it, kid. And then we see a little montage of her growing up, and it turns out that Antiope is, training her in secret. And she's, yelling at her, come on, you're stronger than you know.
Hit me or you'll be sorry.
And they end up getting caught by the queen, who's like, oh, I've been betrayed by my own sister, bitch. And her sister's like, come on, she needs to know how to defend herself. And they're talking later, and Antiope's like, come on, Ares will come back. And when he does, this is the only way to truly protect her. And the queen's like, all right, you know what? All right, train her, but you're going to train her harder, 10 times harder than you have ever trained anybody else. You're going to make her such a badass that she is better than you, and she can never know the truth of what she is or how she came to be. Because in the bedtime story, she told her, I made you out of clay, and then Zeus brought you to life.
Okay.
So Antiope trains her, and now she's a grown-up Gal Gadot. She's out on this battlefield, and all of these other Amazons are just, attacking her, and she's kicking all their asses, and it's really awesome. Whole bunch of swords slinging around, clang, clang. And she looks up at the top of the cliff, and her mother is up there, watching her. So she's like, oh, yay, I'm getting approval now. And then her aunt jumps off of her horse and jumps in there. Come on. So they're fighting, and it's pretty hardcore. And Diana keeps fucking looking up at the cliff at her mother. And at that point, Antiope just jumps in, takes her down, and she's like, God damn it, don't ever let your guard down. And she swings her sword down at Diana, who then, in an effort to block it, crosses her arms in front of her face, and her 2 bracelets, glow orange, and then boom, this huge fucking shockwave goes all across the training field, and everybody falls on their ass.
Big ass titties!
So she looks at her aunt, who is now down for the count. And she's like, I'm sorry. And then she runs away crying. Then she's out alone on a cliff at the edge of the island, which is like a fucking tropical paradise. All right? And she looks off into the sky, and you just hear this, "Meow." And then this little plane "Meow," just appears out of nowhere, like it just came through some weird gate. Like there is a barrier around the island. Mm-hmm. And he just passed through it. And then he crashes into the water, like the beautiful blue, pristine water. So then she just dives off the cliff. Anyway, now we see Captain Kirk, and he is in his little plane, underwater. He's breaking into pieces, and his piece that he's stuck in now, because his foot is stuck, I don't know, is sinking deep down into the black.
Uh-oh.
All right, and he looks up out of the water, and it's all bright sunshine, and he just sees this silhouette of this hot chick, right? And then she just dives in, comes down and gets him, and he looks at her for a second, and then he passes out, and she just drags him up. So at this point, we see what's going on the other side of the barrier. And over there, it's really dark, really foggy, and totally full of Germans. There's all these German ships, and they're searching through the fog for the wreckage of this plane that they just shot at, right?
Yeah.
So one of them looks down and he sees a piece of the plane. And he's in a rowboat.
Into the boat!
So he reaches down to pick it up. And as he does so, his hands pass through the barrier. And he can, see sunlight on them. It's so weird. And then he, leans forward and his face goes through the barrier and he sees the fucking island. And he's like, oh, holy shit! And then they all start coming through the barrier.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's oh, fuck, they found it. So right then, Kirk wakes up on the beach, and right in front of him, in front of all this gorgeous sunlight, is Gal Gadot, looking down at him in wonder, because remember, she's never seen a man.
Yeah.
And he just goes, wow.
I couldn't believe it was her. It was like a dream. But there she was, just like I remembered her. That delicately beautiful face, and a body that could melt a cheese sandwich from across the room. And breasts that seemed to say, hey, look at these.
And she just says to him, you're a man. And he goes, yeah, who are you?
She was the kind of woman that made you want to drop to your knees and thank God you were a man. Yeah. She reminded me of my mother, all right, no doubt about it.
Anyway, I think it was her who said, who are you? And he's like, I am a good guy, okay? And all of them over there, those are all the bad guys. And she just turns around and sees it, and she's like, oh, holy shit. And now those fuckers are storming the beach.
Oh, jeez.
So the two of them hide behind a rock, and then all the other Amazons show up. And they have this huge beach fight.
Wow.
But all the Amazons fight with swords, spears, and arrows.
Uh-huh.
And they ain't too tough for bullets. Anyway, they all start whipping some ass anyway. And yep, some of them are getting shot. And everybody starts fighting. Everybody joins in. Antiope is in there fighting. We see the Queen comes out and fights alongside him. And then Kirk kills one of the Germans and picks up his rifle and starts fighting alongside the Amazons. There's 3 Germans behind a big rock that are shooting at everybody. And Antiope just yells out, shield! And then starts running. And then another Amazon gets down on her knee and puts her shield up in the air. So Antiope just jumps up into the air onto the shield and is then sprung forward over the rock, fires 3 arrows down simultaneously, killing all of them at once.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool move. Liked it before when I saw it in 300. But it's fine. Anyway, right after that, Antiope sees that Diana is about to get shot, and she jumps in the way and takes it. So now she's laying there dying, and Diana runs over to her. She is also about to get shot again when Kirk just kills this fucker, and then he's running after Diana, and then he just fires his rifle out to the side, without even looking, and kills another guy. I thought that was even cooler than the shield thing. And he did it ain't nothing, bitch. So Antiope's last words to Diana are, the time has come. The time has come. the God Killer. Go. Take it and go. And Diana's like, well, where? And then she dies. So then everybody's all pissed off at Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
Because he brought these assholes, right? And they're like, who are you? And he's like, I can't tell you that. And they're like, oh, okay. And then it cuts to him already wrapped up in the lasso of truth. Which is Wonder Woman's, one of her weapons.
Yeah.
Glowing rope. So he's like in front of the queen and they're interrogating him. And they're like, who are you? And he's like, I am Captain so-and-so. My serial number is this and that. And
Captain Kirk?
Yeah, Captain Kirk. And that's all I'm obligated to tell you. And then somebody like pulls on the lasso of truth a little bit. And he goes, what is this thing? And they go, it's the lasso of truth. It'll make you tell the truth, obviously. And he goes, it's really, really hot. And then he just starts spilling his guts. And he's like, I'm a spy. Despite the fact that he is American, he's like, I'm a spy for the British intelligence. And through his exposition, we learned that the Germans were about to lose the war or whatever. And they ended up having the Turks making a whole bunch of new types of bombs for them. And then we see the big baddie of the movie, Mr. Ludendorff, who is Danny Houston.
Oh.
Or like General Ludendorff.
Okay.
He's military. And he has got some new type of poison mustard gas that has been invented by this little lady scientist named Dr. Maru. And this is the operation that Kirk infiltrated. He ended up stealing Dr. Maru's notebook and then running. And then he was seen. So he had to steal one of their planes and get the hell out of there. As he was doing so, he blew up just about the whole damn base. So they were all pretty pissed. Also, Dr. Maru, she has half of her face hidden by like a prosthetic mask.
Yeah.
So she's obviously disfigured.
Like a weirdo?
Yeah. Black sheep. Only found solace in creating poisons.
Yeah, okay.
You son of a bitch.
So he's like, if I can get this notebook back to my superiors in London, we can stop millions more from dying in this war. And then they're all like, what war? He's like, come on, the war to end all wars? Millions of innocents, women and children being killed, weapons deadlier than anything you can imagine, the end of the world. And then Diana just starts crying because she's imagining it. So then they take him away, and Diana gets all pissed off, and she's like, hey, I think that Ludendorff guy he's talking about, that's Ares. That's got to be Ares coming back. And the queen's like, no, we're not going to do anything about it. She's like, come on, it's an Amazon's duty. We have to protect the world. And the queen's like, you're not an Amazon like us. You are going to do nothing. Then we cut to Captain Kirk bathing. They didn't take him and threw him in a cell. They took him to the bathing cave. And the water's all glowing and stuff. And then Diana just walks in. And he stands up. And then she looks down.
You have the biggest dick I've ever seen on a man.
Thanks.
And she's like, are you, would you say, a typical example of your sex?
Jeez.
And then fucking Captain Kirk just goes, there's a big stuttery silence. And he goes, I'm above average.
Jeez.
I know. And then she goes, what's that? And he's like, looking down. And then he sees where she's actually looking. And he goes, oh, that's my watch. And they end up spending time of him explaining a watch to her. And she's like, haha, you let that silly little thing tell you what to do? And he's like, yeah, I guess. Hey, where are we? And she's like, Whore Island. He's like, no. Where in the world is this place? And she's like, I don't know. It's a really awesome place, and we're here to protect the Earth, from the threat of darkness. And then they thank each other for saving each other's lives. And he's like, okay, so you're here to let me go, right? And she's like, no, I don't know what we're going to do with you. But I suggested that we let you go and that I go with you. But they said no. And Kirk, he's like, okay, well, this ain't going to work. I have to leave. I have to get this intel back to my bosses. And she's like, all right, let me figure something out. So then it cuts to her outside at night, and she is going to break into that tower with all the weapons in it. She ends up making some big impossible jump across to it, and then grabs onto this little piece of it that's like sticking out, which then breaks off and she starts fucking falling. Then in her panic, she just drives her hand right into the stone wall. And that's how she learns that she has like super strength. So doing that, she just ruins the wall all the way up and just climbs up. Inside, she takes the God Killer sword, she takes a shield and the lasso of truth. Then she turns around and she sees a costume. And then it just cuts away. There's Kirk like packing his bags to get out of here. She shows up and she's wearing this big black cloak. And she's like, okay, I'm going to show you how to get off of this island and you're going to take me to the war. And he's like, take you to the war. She's like, yeah, so I can stop it. And he's like, yeah, okay. So they leave, and she actually takes him out to some little dock where there is some little sailboat sitting there. And he's like, we're leaving in that? She's like, yeah, do you know how to sail? And he's like, yeah, it'll be fine. Right then they get interrupted by the Queen. And Diana's like, I'm going. You can't stop me. And then the Queen's like, yes, I know. But there's so much that you don't understand. Remember that if you choose to leave, you may never come back. And Diana's like, yeah, it's cool. It's fine. Got to do what I got to do. And then the Queen gives her Antiope's little forehead tiara thing, which is her forehead tiara thing.
Okay.
And she's like, be worthy of this. Yeah, okay. And be careful around the world of men. They are not worthy of you.
She don't know what she's doing. She don't know what she's doing.
So then she sails away. And some lackey looks at the Queen and she's like, you should have told her. The Queen's like, nah, no way. The more she knows, the sooner he'll find her. So they're out on the boat and she's like, so where is the war? And he's like, it's all over, there's all kinds of shit happening. She's like, yeah, but, where's the fighting most concentrated? That's where I'm going to find Ares. And he's like, Ares? The hell are you talking about? And then she tells him her whole plan, and she just sounds like a crazy asshole. And he's like, yeah, okay, great. You're going to save the world by killing the god of war. Okay, I got you. So she's like laying down in a makeshift bed on the boat, and he is sitting at the side of the boat, like lashing himself to it in case he falls out in his sleep. And then she's like, are you going to sleep over there? And he's like, yeah. She goes, you don't sleep with women? And he's like, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I sleep with women, but, it's typically not done, outside of marriage. And she's like, what's marriage? So he explains it to her. And he's like, yeah, they, when two people want to be together forever. And she's like, wow, do they stay together forever? And he goes, typically no. She's like, then why do they do it? And she's like, why don't you just come and sleep over here? And he's like, okay, fine. You know what? You want me to sleep with you? Fine. I can sleep with you. It's no problem. All right. And she's like, there's plenty of room. And then he goes and he lays down next to her.
Don't touch him! Don't touch him!
So then she's talking to him about the average man. And he's like, well, I am above average. In order to be a spy, you have to have a certain, vigor. And then she ends up telling him that she was a baby made out of clay. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, where I come from, we like to make them in a different way. And she goes, you're referring to reproductive biology. Oh. And he goes, yeah. She's like, I am familiar with it. He goes, are you? There's like no men on your island, right? And she's like, I am familiar with the pleasures of the flesh. I have read all 12 volumes that so-and-so Amazon wrote on the pleasures of the flesh. Oh. And he's like, oh, really? Did you bring any of them with you? She's like, no, you wouldn't like them. Well, why? Well, because she found that for procreation, men are essential, but for pleasure, they are unnecessary. And then he's just like, ooh,
You are a smelly pirate hooker.
All right, so then we cut to General Ludendorff, all right, and he is arriving at whatever base he is on, and he's got all of these lackeys following him, and one of them is like, oh, sir, we're having all these problems and shit. And he's like, oh, you are an embarrassment. All of you are such a total embarrassment. All of your soldiers are so damn lazy. Maybe you just need an example. And then he shoots him in the fucking face.
And what do? You turn around and you made a fucking horse's ass out of me. I hate it when that happens.
And then he goes inside and he's talking to Dr. Maru, and she's like, oh God, it's hopeless, in her Phantom of the Opera mask. And he's like, they have an odd relationship, these two. Because she's in there, like, testing poisons and gases on, like, humans.
Yeah.
Okay?
Is it like Sheriff of Nottingham and that witch lady?
Yes. She's like, it's hopeless. I'll never get the formula back. And he's like, yes, you will. You'll be able to do this. You know why? Because I believe in you. I believe in you, not the book. Okay? But I'll still get your book back. Now, do you have anything at all? Any kind of progress for me? And she's like, not enough. Oh, wait a minute. Something did come to me. Here. And she hands him these little ampules. She's like, this is a different kind of gas, but it's just for you. And he takes it, breaks it open, inhales it, and then his face like starts glowing, and he becomes super strong. Like for a minute. It's like, the fuck?
For real.
But it's cool, they had to have a way for him to put up a fight with Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he is Ares, the god of war. It's fine.
Does he need it?
Anyway, she's like, yeah. And I had another idea for something else. And it is gonna be terrible. So then it cuts to Captain Kirk and Diana, and they are arriving in London. And she's like, oh my God. And remember, it's all like, foggy London town, and dirty. And she's like, it's hideous. And he's like, yeah, well, it's not for everyone. She's looking at other people like, why are they holding hands? And he's like, yeah, well, because they're together. And then she goes to grab his hand, and he's like, no, we're not together. She's like, what? And he's like, well, I mean, we're together, but we're not together like that. She's like, all right, man. You are supposed to take me to Ares, so what the hell's going on here? Take me to Ares now. And he's like, no, I got to take this book to my superiors. She's like, we had a deal, motherfucker. You're supposed to take me to the war. And he's like, you know what? Maybe we should get you some clothes. Because she is wearing the Wonder Woman outfit underneath this big black cloak. And every so often, the wind will, like, open it up a little. So you just see all thighs. So then they go to this clothing shop, and they meet up with Captain Kirk's secretary.
Uh-huh.
His money penny, if you will.
Okay.
And she is played by Lucy Davis, who was Diane, the zombie acting coach in Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, okay.
All right? She was very underutilized in this movie. She was easily one of the funnest characters.
Yeah, she's pretty talented.
Yeah. So she is showing Diana around the world of fashion. Like corsets and shit. Diana's like, why do you need that? Well, to keep our tummies in. And then she's like, well, why would you need to do that? And then she's like, the only person who would ever say that is someone with no tummy. So then she's trying on, we got a montage of her trying on dresses and like ripping stuff because she's like, how can women fight in this? Anyway, she ends up settling on a secret agent looking jacket and hat. I don't know. Kirk walks up and he looks her up and down. She's like sexy as hell still. And he's like, you know what? The whole point of this was for her to not look distracting. And the secretary's like, well, what are you going to do? And then he picks up a pair of glasses and puts them on her face. And then his secretary's like, oh, yeah, spectacles, of course. Because now she's not the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. So they all leave the shop, and Diana is holding her fucking shield and sword. Because she's like, I ain't letting this shit go. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
She ends up having to trust the secretary with the sword and shield. She's like, I'll give you these back to you later. Guard them with your life. So her and Kirk are walking through the streets, and then they start being followed by some no-good nicks. So then they get cornered in this alley by like 3 or 4 bad guys. And Captain Kirk is like, all right, fellas, what is this, a fucking bad guy convention? And they're like, give us the book you took.
Oh.
And he's like, yeah, no way, no way. And then the guy shoots him. Diana catches the fucking bullet in her hand. It is amazing. And Kirk looks down at it and he's like, holy shit. And then the bad guys look at it and they're like, holy shit. And then she just whips all of their asses with the fucking lasso of truth.
All right.
She gets the last guy like down on the ground. She's like, where is Ares? Where is the god of war? Tell me. And then he swallows his cyanide capsule and dies. Then we cut to these superiors that Captain Kirk was trying to get the book to. And they're in like the Hall of Justice. I don't know. The council. Okay. And they're all arguing about stuff and different strategies in the war and everything. And then everybody, they're all looking around at Captain Kirk. He walks in. He's got a woman with him. And everybody starts like getting all pissy looking. What are you doing? You have a woman in here? What are you doing? And the guy who is standing up talking is Fatsy Watsy. And he's like trying to give his opinion on the armistice that they are negotiating with Germany. And no one's fucking listening to him because they are all just fucking pissed off that there is a woman in the council chambers.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
And then somebody's like, what are you doing, Kirk? Get her out of here.
It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady, and that is a scientific fact, huh?
A scientific fact. Anyway, he takes her outside. They go outside, and Fatsy Watsy comes out to meet him. And he's all like, oh, yes, hello, who's your friend? Blah, blah, blah. All right, and he's like really nice. He's really charismatic. And he's like, he's the John Hammond of the movie. It's a pleasure to meet you. You know, I don't have the same reservations against women, that everybody else does. And I was like, oh, he's Ares. Absolutely.
Okay.
He is going to be Ares. Then they go into some other room with like just a few generals who I guess can handle the presence of the lady. And they're all like looking at this book and they're like, wow, it's written in like 2 different languages. We're not going to be able to decode this. And then Diana just goes, oh, it's written in Sumerian and Ottoman. And they're like, what the hell? Who is this woman? Kirk's like, she's my secretary. And she speaks Ottoman and Sumerian. Yeah, she's a very good secretary. So in that, they have her read the book to them. And it turns out that this new mustard gas is hydrogen-based. So it's going to make gas masks totally ineffective. It's going to kill everybody. Kirk's like, we got to go and destroy the weapons plant that they're making all this shit in. And everybody else is like, no, we're negotiating that armistice with Germany. They're about to surrender. So no, you're gonna destroy that peace. You're not gonna be able to do anything. No. And he's like, well, you know what? Just send me then. Don't send the whole army, just me, with a couple of dudes. And they're like, no, go sit your ass down. You've done enough. Kirk's like, but all these soldiers, they're all just gonna die. And the general's like, that's what soldiers do. And it's like, damn, dude. So that pisses Diana off. And she starts yelling at the general, and she tells him that he should be ashamed of himself. They walk outside. Diana's all mad at Kirk because he didn't stand up for himself or, life. Mm-hmm. And he's like, we're going anyway. She's like, whoa, what are you talking about? Really? And he's like, yeah, baby. You and me. And we just need to pick up a couple of my guys first. She's like, I can't trust you. I think you're probably lying. And then he reaches into her bag, pulls out the lasso of truth, wraps it around his own arm, and he's like, we are totally going, and we are probably going to die. And then he starts like looking down at the lasso, and he's like, this was probably not the greatest idea. So they have to go and collect his buddies, and one of them is Sumir, who's like a charismatic actor. He'll get you through the gate.
Yeah.
Talk his way through. Then they go and they get Charlie, who is Spud from Trainspotting. Mm. And he's like drunk all the time. And he is the marksman of the group. He's the sniper. Yeah. Diana learns this and she's like, you kill people from where you can't even see them? He's like, yeah, totally. She's like, you have no honor. And he's like, I don't get paid for honor. So they're talking about, this new job he's got for him. And they're like, yeah, okay, so how much are we getting paid? And he's like, I don't have any money. And they're like, no way, man. Because, they're mercenaries for hire. At that point, Fatsy Watsy shows up with the secretary. And he's like, gentlemen, in an unofficial capacity, I am here to help. So, what's your plan? And I was like, yeah, tell him the plan. So they do. And then he's like, well, let me help. Your secretary, she can run the mission from my office. And here, this should be enough for a few days. Gives him a whole bunch of money. And everybody's like, yeah, cool. He's financing the mission. They're at the train station. Some dude holds up an ice cream cone to Diana. She takes it, has never tasted ice cream, and is like, oh my God, this is amazing. She looks back. She's like, you should be so proud of yourself to the guy. And he's just like, thanks. Then they go and meet the last guy, and his name is Chief, and he is an American Indian, and he's a smuggler. They pass by a whole bunch of war wounded, and it really affects Diana. So then it cuts to Ludendorff, and he is talking to his council of superiors. And he's like, hey, you guys, I got this new mustard gas. It's going to be great. We are going to win this war. And everybody's like, no, man, we're surrendering. The armistice and everything, come on. Get the hell out of here. You're done. And he's like, no, I'm not done. War isn't over. The war is over, man. No, the war is over for you. The war is over for all of you. And then Dr. Maru walks in, and she throws a grenade into the middle of the room. And then it just starts, psss, and then they all just die by the mustard gas.
First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face!
So then he steps outside with her. They lock the door. Everybody's in there struggling and stuff and dying. And then he breaks an ampule of the strength gas and breathes it in, goes nuts for a second, and then he's just like, yeah. He's just using it as a drug now. He's going crazy. So then Kirk and Diana and their whole crew, they're all on their way to the front lines. And they find a whole bunch of villagers that are all like displaced and injured, and kids are all hungry and hurt. And this lady's talking to Diana, and she's like, our whole village is taken prisoner, they're all enslaved by the Germans over there. So, please help us. Diana's like, all right, we got this. We got to do something about this. And Kirk's like, no, man, we can't. Because in between their trenches and the enslaved town is this whole big battlefield. And he's like, see all that right there? That's no man's land. This regiment right here has been here for a year, and they have not been able to move forward. Because on the other side of that, there's all these tanks and machine guns and death waiting. So, I'm sorry, but you just can't save everyone in this war. That's not what we came here to do. And she's like, no, but it's what I am going to do.
Isn't that right, Mr. Poopy Pants?
So then she rips off her cloak, and she's in the Wonder Woman costume.
All right.
So she just jumps up onto the battlefield and just starts running. People start shooting at her. She holds up her hands and her bracelets and shit, and she starts deflecting all of these bullets. And she's just running through all of this hailstorm of death. So she's like deflecting all of this shit. And Kirk sees that, and he's like, holy shit, you guys, she's taking all the fire. Come on, let's do this. So he gets up, takes a couple of his buddies with him. He expects the whole rest of the regiment to follow him, and they do not. And he's just like running across the battlefield with her, like behind her. They start helping out. While all of these Germans are busy shooting at Wonder Woman, he just starts blowing all their heads off. At that point, the rest of the regiment sees, and they're like, oh, okay, let's do this. So now they all charge across. They end up in that village, and then there's this huge fucking firefight. Germans are like, what the fuck? So they go all crazy. They retreat down into their trenches, and then Diana is just like, stay here, I'll go ahead. So she runs off ahead, and then busts into this hideout that is all full of all these Germans. And it's really cool when she busts in. It's all slow motion. And right then, for the first time in the movie, we get that Wonder Woman music that played when she showed up in Dawn of justice or whatever. It's like...
Is that like the Wonder Woman song?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like... Like, shit gets real when that music plays.
Yeah.
All right? So she's like kicking everybody's ass. She's swinging her lasso of truth around. There's a whole lot of slow motion face beating happening. So Captain Kirk and Spud and his buddies, they follow her into that hideout, and then the fight spills out into the town square. And now the Germans roll up a fucking tank.
Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.
So she's still slinging the lasso of truth around like a whip. It's pretty cool. And then all of a sudden, people start getting shot in the head. And there is a sniper up in the tower. So they're like, Spud, get him. So he gets down, loads up his rifle, points it up there, and then fucking chokes. He can't fucking do it. And Diana's just like, oh, Jesus. Right then, Kirk, he sees this metal door laying on the ground, and he's like, all right, hey guys, come over here. Help me hold this up. And they're like underneath it, and then he screams out, Diana, shield! And then she like runs, jumps on it, springboards way up into the tower, and then the tower completely fucking explodes. I do not know how. The whole thing explodes and goes down, and Sniper's dead. So Diana comes walking out, and then everybody's celebrating. All the villagers, they're not afraid anymore. Everything's gonna be fine. And they all just love her. And then one guy is like, all of you together, come on, I'll take your picture. So they all pose for that photo. And in the photo, I didn't notice it the first time, but I looked at Spud this time around while they were posing, and he doesn't look all that happy. Like, he's got some conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now's the part in the movie where they got a little downtime. It's their Ninja Turtles farm, sort of scene. Everything's okay, and there's no more Germans in this city, so maybe we'll celebrate a little.
Yeah.
So they got the lights working, everybody's pouring beer, people are dancing. They end up on the phone with Fatsy Watsy back in his office, and he's like, yeah, I just learned that there's going to be a gala for all of the bad guys ever. They're all going to be there. So Ludendorff should totally be there. Kirk is like, all right, we're going to raid it, and we'll kill him. And he's like, no, you can't do that. Kirk's like, we're doing it. And then it cuts to nighttime, and Samir comes up, and he's like, yeah, how about you two have a drink? Here you go. Gives him some beer. Diana looks over at the people dancing, and she's like, what are they doing? He's like, you don't know dancing? And she's like, yeah, I mean, I know about dancing, but those people are just swaying. Because it's like a slow romantic type song.
Yeah. And
he's like, come here, I'll teach you. We can't go to a gala unless you know how to dance. So they get up together, and they're nice and close. And it's nice. Diana's like, you are awfully close. And he's like, that's the point, baby. And she's like, I see. And they're swaying to the song together, and it's all nice and romantic, and then it starts snowing. And she's like, oh, wow. And she loves it, and it's all magical. And she's like, so what is it like, marriage and relationships and stuff? And Kirk just goes, I have no idea. So then it shows them walking into their hotel room. They get in there, and they're both pretty awkward looking, and then they just start kissing, baby. Start kissing. And I was like, all right, here we go. Wonder Woman sex. And then it just cuts to an outside shot with all of the other lights in the hotel off.
Yeah.
Except for the one.
Like a blind man at an orgy, I was going to have to feel things out.
So the next morning, they're getting ready to move out. And Spud is like, maybe you'd be better off without me. And I was like, yep.
Yeah.
You are useless. Kirk actually looks at him like, oh, okay, man. Like, you can go. And then Diana's like, what? Spud? No. Who will sing for us? Because earlier when they were dancing, he was singing. All right?
Okay.
So they're all like, yay, we're all staying together. And now they're going to travel and go to the castle where they're going to have this gala. On the way, Kirk fills everybody else in on the truth about Diana. Like, she's an Amazon. She's looking for Ares. He's the god of war. And, yeah, she's got a god-killing sword. And they're all like, Jesus, man, you believe this shit? And he's like, yeah, kinda. So they finally reach the castle, and it feels very much like the beginning of True Lies. So all these rich baddies are like driving in, showing their invitations, and so Kirk, he has stolen a German uniform, and he's going to have to go in undercover. Diana wants to go in too, but he says, no. It's just me, baby. So he goes off with the actor dude, Samir, in some nice car that they stole. He's going to drive in with it. Diana goes and finds some bitchy rich lady who's like bitching her driver out and then walking up to the castle. She gets in front of her and she just like looks her up and down, and the lady's like, bitch. And then it just cuts away. Kirk gets into the party by having Samir pretend to be his stupid driver that lost his invitation.
Uh-huh.
So he's in there and he starts talking to Dr. Maru, who is at a gala in a Phantom of the Opera mask. So he's talking to her, and he's like kind of charming her and wooing her a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He starts talking about fire and how much he loves fire, and it just cleanses everything, and everything's going to be reborn. Obviously, he's gotten into her head a little bit because it starts to work, and she's like, huh?
Is she hot?
No.
Okay.
And then Diana walks in, who is hot, in her blue dress. Kirk cannot avoid looking at her, and Maru notices that. And he's like, yeah, why don't you take me somewhere and show me the stuff you've been working on? She's like, yeah, I was going to, but I see that your attention is elsewhere. Diana looks around, sees Ludendorff, and just fucking walks right up to him, like she's just going to kill him. Then we see her from the back, and she's got a sword down the back of her dress. Big-ass sword. She gets up to him, and he just turns around and grabs her and starts dancing with her.
Ah.
So they're dancing, and he starts talking about war, and, like, I guess he's trying to get in her pants, trying to impress her with it.
Yeah. He's not feeling a sword?
No.
Okay.
And then she says to him, yeah, only one God talks that way about war. And at this moment, I love giving credit for cinematography, but this was a little blatant. There is a head mounted on the wall with horns, and the camera lines up so that it is directly behind Ludendorff's head. So he's got horns when he says to her, you know nothing of the gods. And then he like drops her hands and says, enjoy the fireworks. And then he storms off. And everybody's like, the fuck? And then all of a sudden, there is a huge explosion.
Big ass titties!
And it turns out that he has gone up and told some dudes to load up one of those new mustard gas bombs we got. Shoot it at that village that all those people were in earlier. Yeah. So Diana's like, oh, holy shit. Her and Kirk leave the party, and they just start running for that village. Diana gets there first because she's running faster than everybody else. And the whole town is just completely surrounded by this yellow cloud. She walks into the cloud. She's okay. And I guess she's immortal or whatever. The Amazon. Doesn't hurt her. And she's looking around, and there is just nothing but death everywhere.
What's that smell?
Oh, that would be me. I've been swimming in raw sewage. I love it.
But Diana doesn't love it. Kirk shows up, and she blames him for the entire thing. She's like, I could have killed him in the party, and you said no, you fucking motherfucker. And she's like, I am going to find him. I'm going to find him, and I am going to kill him. And he's like, all right, go ahead. But hey, look over there in the distance. And we see smoke signals. Yeah, smoke signals. Being sent by the Native American guide that they have. Chief?
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, that means he followed Ludendorff and he knows where he is. Follow those smoke signals, babe. So she jumps on a horse and then she just rides away. And then he goes over and finds a cool World War I era motorcycle. So he gets to like zoom through the woods and do little jumps. You know? It's very Great Escapee. So they go off, they find the camp, and Diana just, fuck it. She just jumps over the wire and runs right in. Goes right up to the tower where Ludendorff is, like, commanding things. She walks in, he turns around, and she's like, motherfucker. And he's like, bitch. And then he fucking goes to shoot her, and she fucking blocks it. So he's like, yeah, okay. And then he cracks a little bit more of his strength gas, and then they just start fucking fighting. All right. So they're throwing each other around the room, kicking each other's ass. He is putting up a good fight against her. And, he decides to leave. And he just goes outside, jumps up onto the roof. She gets up there, and she has her Indigo Montoya moment. She's like, I am Diana of Whore Island. And I am going to fulfill the Amazon's mission. It is going to be completed. And I will rid the world of you forever. She fucking beats him down to the ground, holds her sword up, and then just fucking slams it down into his chest. And then there's this huge shockwave, boom, that just spreads across the fucking base.
Big ass titties!
And he's dead. So then she looks down and sees the Germans. They're all still loading all of these mustard gas bombs onto this big plane they got. Now remember, when she kills Ares, the god of war, everybody is supposed to stop fighting. There's no more war. Okay? Everybody stops. But they're all still doing this. And she's like, what the hell's going on? Kirk shows up. She's like, I killed him. Why are they still fighting? What's going on? And he's like, well, babe, I mean, maybe it's who they are, you know? Maybe there's not just one bad guy to blame. You know? Maybe we're all to blame. And she goes, I'm not to blame. And he's like, yeah, I get that, babe. But you know what? They're still loading all those bombs on that plane, and they're going to take that. They're going to kill so many people. So I really need your help. They're going to kill thousands more. Please come and help me take out that plane. And she's like, no. Nah, fuck that. And he's like, come on, babe, please. I got to go. I got to go right now. Take care of that plane. She's like, no. And he's like, fine. I got to go.
Why don't you go back to your home on Whore Island?
There you go.
The fruition. So he leaves. And he runs off with his buddies. She looks down and just is watching them go. And then she hears some noise behind her in the room that she fought Ludendorff in. Turns around, and there was an old man in there looking for champagne glasses. She gets closer. She looks through the window. And it is Fatsy Watsy. And he's like, yes, Diana, you were right. They don't deserve our help. They only deserve destruction. And she's like, you're him. You're Ares. And he's like, yes, but I'm not what you think I am. And then he starts monologuing about humanity. And, humanity is evil. That's my whole thing, is, that's all I was trying to do, is show everybody that Zeus's creation was a piece of shit. It was evil. So then she steals herself. She pulls the sword out of the dead guy and runs up to him. She's like, that's fine. You know what? And then she says her whole shit again about, I am Diana of Whore Island, and I'm going to fulfill the prophecy or whatever. Runs right up to him and fucking stabs him with this sword right into the palm of his hand, and the sword just fucking disintegrates into dust.
Oh, shit.
Right? Wrong.
And he's like, that's not the god killer, Diana. You are. And she's like, what? And he's like, Zeus had a child with the queen. And that is the weapon he left to kill me, because only a god can kill a god. So they're brother and sister. That's why her mom didn't want her to know how she came to be.
Okay.
So he keeps on monologuing, and he's like, yeah, you know what? That's my whole thing is with humanity. I just pull the strings. I give them ideas of all these horrible weapons that they can invent. And they're like, it shows a little montage of him walking around people in ghostly form. Like the evil doctor lady. He walks by her as a ghost, and she just like, gets an idea for the poison bombs. Starts writing in her book. And he's like, but they are the ones who use them. Okay? I don't make anybody do that shit. And he's like, when I first saw you in that newsroom, I knew I was going to have to kill you. But I didn't, because I figured you would probably want to join me once I showed you what real war is like. That's why I let you go off into the trenches and see everybody dying and dead and shit. So now you know I'm doing the right thing. So come on, baby. Come on. Join me. She's like, no fucking way. He's like, my dear, I don't want to fight you, but if I must. And then there's a big old boom, and then he rises up into the air.
Big ass titties.
And he's like flying around now. And they have a big old fucking god fight where they're like slamming each other into shit. And it's just like Superman and Zod.
Yeah.
You know? At that point, Kirk and his buddies, they're about to sabotage this plane, but they look back at what's going on there. These two people just flying around, you know, making explosions. And they're like, yeah, what's going on? Should we do something about that? Should we stop that? And Kirk's like, I don't think there's anything we can do if that's who I think it is. But we got to stop this plane, baby. Do we have any idea where they were going to send it? And one of them's like, dude, all those bombs, that whole thing's on a timer. So even if we ground the plane, it'll just blow up here, and everybody here will die. So it's kind of screwed either way. We need to, like, shoot it out of the sky somewhere else. And then Kirk's like, you know what? Clear me a path to that plane. And then he just starts running across the tarmac. And they all have to start shooting all the Germans that just see him blatantly running towards them.
Yeah.
Diana then gets hit by Ares and is knocked way across the base and falls down right in front of Kirk. He runs up to her, and her ears are ringing, or our ears are ringing, but he starts talking to her, but all we can hear is, and then he puts something in her hand, and then he runs away. She looks down in her hand and sees that it's his watch. At that point, Ares is still over on the other side, and he is now vamping out. And turning into the real Ares, and he's got all this like god armor and everything, and it's still just fatsy watsy behind the mask. Like he puts the helmet on, and it's just like a solid helmet, and he puts his fiery fingers into it and like draws them down and makes a little space where you can see his fatsy watsy face. And he starts taunting her. Kirk's men run into the weapons plant, and they, you know, lace it with dynamite and everything, and then they blow it, and the whole thing burns. Dr. Maru is in there, and she kind of escapes. So then Diana, she starts fighting Ares, and she's using her lasso of truth. She's whipping it around. And then he, like, uses telekinesis and throws some fucking tank treads around her and, like, traps her. Okay? At that point, we see Kirk's friends, and they are hiding behind some truck or whatever, and all these Germans are coming to get him. And they start talking, hey, do you have any bullets left? No, I don't have any bullets left. All right, I guess we're going to die. And then they just all join hands and get ready to die. It was fucking weird. Kirk has jumped into the plane and is now taking off with it. And he is just flying straight up. He's just climbing. Diana sees that because she's trapped in her tank treads. Now we see inside the plane, and Kirk, he's in the pilot's chair, and he pulls out his sidearm and just points it behind him at, like, the thousands of bombs that are in the back of the plane.
Yeah.
And he points it at him, and then he just, like, looks back, and then it just cuts away. And Diana just sees the plane explode. It was, like, really fucking sad.
Yeah.
Big ass titties.
All right, and she's like, no, Kirk. Then she vamps out. She busts those tank treads off of her, and she's all like glowing and shit, and she just starts mowing through all of these Germans that are around her, just killing them with impunity. And Ares is all happy. And he's like, yeah, see? Yeah. You know, because she's like corruptible.
Yeah.
And then he gets Dr. Maru, who is running away, and throws her on the ground. Her mask comes off. We see that half of her face is all like nasty and opened up. And he gives Diana a fucking tank that she holds up over her head, and he's like, kill her. Come on. Kill her. You know she deserves to die. So she's sitting there holding the tank up above her. She's looking down at this pathetic Dr. Maru, and she wants to fucking drop this tank on her so bad. And then she starts thinking back to Kirk. And now we see that scene again, but without our ears ringing. And we hear what he said to her. And he's like, I gotta go, babe. I gotta go take this plane out. She's like, no, wait. Okay, this is so dangerous, you know? Why don't you just let me take care of it? And he's like, no, it has to be me, okay? I can save today, but you gotta save the world, all right? Then he puts something in her hands. He's like, I love you. And then he runs away. She looks down and sees the watch. Oh. So now it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was sad. So then Diana throws the tank away, doesn't kill Dr. Maru. She turns to Ares and she's like, you're wrong about them. They are what you say, but they are so much more. I will destroy you. And he's like, no, bitch. And he starts throwing a bunch of lightning at her. Okay? Now the lightning goes around her, and then it stays around her, and she can take it. So now she starts like controlling the lightning that he just threw at her. And she's like kind of rolling it around in a ball. And then she rises up into the air, looks down at him and says, goodbye, brother. And then fires it back at him. And then boom, this huge fucking explosion.
Big ass titties.
Damn right. All right, so after that, he's gone. And the smoke just clears. And then we see all of the Germans that were running around in their gas masks and like firing at the good guys. And they all just start pulling off their gas masks and looking around and smiling at each other. They throw their weapons down and they start hugging each other. And then they start hugging the good guys. And everybody's going to be okay.
That's fucking weird.
So then it cuts to London. And they're all like, the war is over, the war is over. They're celebrating in the streets and everything. And Diana is walking through the crowd with her three buddies. And they find like a wall of fallen heroes. There's like pictures of people who've died in the war and everything. They walk up to it, and there is already a picture of Captain Kirk standing there next to his plane. You know, looking up with his knee up in the air like Captain Morgan.
Oh.
And then she actually puts her finger up to the photograph and then runs it down his face. And it was like, Jesus, man. Why did he have to die?
Yeah.
So then she just turns around and walks back through the crowd and leaves. Her three buddies are just like kind of looking at her. She walks out of the crowd and then just like looks up into the air. And then it fades back into the old-timey photo that Bruce Wayne sent Diana. And she's narrating again, and she's like, I used to want to save the world. And then I glimpsed the darkness that was within. And I decided that humanity has both light and darkness. But you know what? They have a choice between those two things. So I stay. And I fight. And she's just like sitting there like typing an email. I think this whole thing was like the email that she's sending to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's my mission now. I will protect all life. I will fight. And then she looks up and she hears some sirens off in the city. So she gets up from her computer and walks away. And then we see she walks out onto like the balcony of her super penthouse apartment. And she is in the Wonder Woman suit. And she just starts running towards the camera and then jumps off into the city. And then the credits roll, baby.
All right.
And that's it, man. So at that point, I get on mediastinger.com and I check for stingers. There are no stingers for this movie.
Okay.
So I collect my stuff, get up and start walking out. I look down. Not one other person was getting up. They were all waiting for stingers. And I was just like,
oh, poor people.
yeah. Serves you right for getting in my way in the beginning. So that's it, man. That's Wonder Woman on Movies with Ron.
She fights a couple of old bastards.
Yep.
In this movie. I can't picture these two old actors like jumping around, shooting lightning.
Yeah, the whole Ares thing with Fatsy Watsy was a little ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah, him in that it's just his face.
Yeah.
Dr. Lupin in this giant suit of armor. But I'll tell you what, like all of that stuff, it was very easily put aside. I can see why this movie did so well with critics because it was entertaining, you know? And I'll tell you what, like I really loved the first Captain America movie. I think superheroes in past conflicts, I just think it works, man.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a good war movie.
Thought it was part Captain America, part Thor.
Yeah, probably.
A little bit.
But it was good, you know, in our first foray into female superhero film, and it did not disappoint. I liked it a lot. What'd you think, Rick?
It's terrible! She has beautiful eyes and her hair smells like cinnamon!
Well said.
All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you're using Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating and review. Look us up on Twitter and Instagram at Movies with Ron. We got a Facebook page. All right. It's been fun.
All right. Love you guys.
Take care.
Movies with Ron.